morning, Mrs. Adams. My name is Scotty, and I'm here with 3 other team members, and we're at the Pittsburgh branch of the business consulting group, PricewaterhouseCoopers, and we're going to be giving you a short presentation today on starting a small business. So we hope that this short presentation is good for you, and we know that starting a small business can be a little bit scary, but hopefully the tips we give you today will help you throughout this process. So one of the things we all learned in our class together was these 10 questions by this guy named Cliff Anico. Now, Cliff Anico is a guy who is a large business consultant for a bunch of small businesses around his area and actually all over the United States. And he came up with 10 questions when you're starting your business. And we know you've already started your business, but you can also apply most of these to yourself now. So the first question that Cliff came up with is, who are my customers? Now, your revenue in your business comes from either 2 places, your capital or your customers. So right there, your customers is 50% of all your business income. So obviously you want to tend to your customers and really go for what they want. And so you want to base your whole business around who your customer base is. Now, we know that you want to have primarily women as your customer base, and that's fine, but when you're starting out, you want to go for any customer you can possibly get, and then once you get large enough, then you can start scaling more towards women, because only going for women is already eliminating 50% of your customer base, and as a small business, it's going to be really hard to already eliminate 50% of your whole customer base. So once you get big enough, you can specialize your business, but for now, just try and get any customer you possibly can. So 2 and 3 kind of correlate, and 2 is, why will these people buy anything from me? And 3 is products and services. So obviously your business is a service business. You're in the service of risk management and consulting. And 2 is, why would these people buy anything from me? So why people will buy from you is basically they have 2 things. They have passions and fears. So people will buy off you maybe because they're passionate about a small business, or they're fearful for starting a business, so they need to come to you for consulting. So you want to play off those passions and fears of people in that business. And as a small business, why would these people buy anything from me? Maybe as a small business, you could have something like a quality of a small business, which is great customer service, or like super friendly to the people, and meeting personally with business managers, something like that, because that small business touch might be why people come to you over a giant consulting firm. So 4 is, how can I reach my customers? And basically, there's a lot of ways you can do that, especially now with social media. You can do you can do like Facebook, Twitter, stuff like that. Or you can go to like expos and conventions, or you can attend business meetings like SCORE, which Cliff teaches at. So 5 is, who are my competitors? And that's pretty simple. You just need to know who your competitors are, and that's just going to be other consulting firms around your area. 6 is, what is my competitive advantage? And I kind of talked about that already at 2. But you need to realize what your strong personality traits are and what your good business traits are, and base it off that. So, like I said before, if you're really good with people, you're really good with customer care, then make sure your whole business relies on that, and make that the strong point of your business. 7, who should be on my management team? There's a bunch of different, people that you can have, but you might need a business partner if your business gets too big. You also definitely need an accountant, and you're also definitely going to need a mentor, and preferably if you have a spouse, it's nice to have them, to rely on them. And you want to make sure that any team, small or big, or however many people are working under you, you want to make sure that the non-essential tasks in your business, like tax forms or income statements, or anything that you don't really need to sign, but it's just like paperwork, simple paperwork for the business, you want to transfer that onto someone else, because it's really not necessary for you to be doing that and spending your time as the business owner and manager doing that. Okay, so then the 8th question is, how am I going to pay these people? And 9 kind of correlates with that. Where am I going to get the money? So it might be hard to pay your workers at the beginning, and you want to make sure that if they're okay with that, maybe not getting a paycheck that first month. There's a lot of ways you can do that with millennials doing unpaid internships or something like that. And millennials aren't the best workers. Here's an original joke for you about millennials. You ready? This is my little impression of a modern millennial. That's just my original impression of a modern millennial. I came up with that myself. So then Yeah, 9 and 8 correlate again where I'm making the money. So most businesses don't start making profit till around the 12 or 18th month mark. So if you really aren't seeing a profit, or with your income statements or anything like that, you're really not projecting a profit past 18 months, then maybe this business isn't for you, because past 18 months and if you're not making a profit is a really bad sign. And finally, 10, risks and how do you deal with those. We're actually going to be talking about risk management and a whole nother section with one of my other team members. So yeah, those are Cliff's 10 questions, and now I'm going to be passing off to my team member.
Hey, Ms. Adams. My name is Johnny. I'm a member of the PwC Consulting Group. And I'm here today to give you a couple of advices on how to sell your services to clients. Now, it's important to know that you have about 3 to 8 seconds to get their attention. So in this short span of time, you want to be able to use convincing and straightforward language. It's also important to know that what's in there for me. Customers really want to get their money and time returned in a way. So you want to be able to sell the value of your business by highlighting the benefits of working with you. Whether it's fair prices, efficiency, or a better personal connection compared to larger firms, we really want to be able to sell those points. Also drew out 4 advices from the man Jordan Belfort that I think it's really helpful for helping you sell your services to clients. One of them is you want to be positive with your product. Okay, so this entails believing that your product is the best in the market. So whenever you're speaking to the customer or clients, you want to sell your service by elaborating as much as you can and speak with no uncertainty, because customers can tell when you're not as knowledgeable about your product as other companies are. It's also important to know that it's going to take a couple of no's before you get a yes, and on average, it's about 2 to 5 no's. But don't be scared. You want to learn from those failures and make it into a yes by learning from your mistakes. Match and mirror. Clients usually like to talk about themselves, their experiences in life, and what they like to do. So tailor your service to their mannerism and ask them what they want to hear. Ask them what are they seeking for in the consulting service. And lastly, but most importantly, you want to be able to hide your emotions and able to control it. Because when you're speaking to a customer, at times you can get agitated and also annoying, but you want to keep the professionalism high and keep your emotions on the low.
The next analytical tool we'd like to look at is the PESTLE acronym. The first letter in PESTLE stands for P, political situation, and this relates to any changes in taxes or regulations across local, state, regional, or national boundaries. Next is E, which stands for economics, and this directly correlates to your business, because depending on the booms or busts in the economy, your consulting group are going to have more or less customers. The S in PESTLE stands for what's going on in the social environment around you. And currently, this would be taking a look at millennials and how their preferences and desires are changing the marketplace. The T in PESTLE stands for technological developments, which is just a general indication of how technology is becoming more effective in small businesses, and also how it's evolving just across time in general. The second E in PESTLE stands for environment, and it is relating to the carbon footprint that we're having on our earth and how we run our businesses. And lastly, L, relating to legal environment. You want to take a look at what recent liabilities or lawsuits have been issued to other consulting businesses, so you know to avoid those mistakes and have a more successful business of your own. The last tool that I'd like to talk about is called Porter's 5 Forces. The first of these forces is suppliers. Although you're not providing a good, you're in the service market, it's important that you look at your suppliers because you're going to need simple things such as office materials. Second of these forces is customers. It's important that we stress this. We can't stress it enough across this whole presentation. You have to do a thorough analysis of your customers, find out who are your customers now, and moving forward, who your customers might be in the future, and what do they want, and you really need to make sure you cater to their needs in order to keep their business. The third of the forces is relation to competitors, and these are broken down into 3 subgroups. The first of this subgroup is the most important, and is looking at rival competitors. So for you, it might be other consulting firms, either local or across the country, and you have to see what their reach is like to see if they might take away from your potential business. And the last two are substitutes, who are people that don't do exactly what you do, but are in the same type of market. And the last is new entrants, who are just new people who are looking to break into the marketplace.
Hi, Ms. Adams. I'm Nolan, and I'm going to be going over risk management, something very important with your small business. The first thing, just a quick equation just for you to keep in mind, risk equals severity times probability. This is important to keep in mind for when you come across a risk, and so you can identify how bad it could get. Next, if you come across a risk you want to identify, assess, and control. Figure out what the risk is before it becomes an issue, assess it, form a course of action to fix the issue, and control it. Take action and make sure the risk doesn't get worse or something happens. Here are some possible risks associated with your business. First, what if your brother quits? He was a high-level executive who brings a lot of expertise to the company. If he quits, you lose quite a bit of expertise and knowledge. What happens in the loss of all that knowledge, and also what happens to the Los Angeles office? Those are questions you have to answer. Something else involves your daughter. She is fresh out of graduate school and has no experience running a business. There's almost no undergraduates straight out of college who are capable of running a small business unsupervised, and as she will be since she's in Seattle and your brother's in Los Angeles and you're in Pittsburgh. This is a very bad idea because this could create a lot of problems day to day. She has no experience with working with people like this, and it's just not a good idea. She should get practice working at another job, maybe lower level management, and work her way up, and then come back to your company after 7 to 10 years. In the meantime, you should hire someone else who has more experience to run the Seattle office. Moving on. You have offices in 3 states, Pennsylvania, Washington, and California. Those 3 states have different laws, and they're not consistent across all 3. Keep that in mind when you do things such as patents, trademarks, logos, and anything of that sort. Things are going to be different across those 3 states, and if you mess up and assume they're consistent, you could be sued, fined, or even possibly worse. Okay. Move on to Cliff. Okay, so continuing with risk management, we're going to talk about being sued. And these are some of Cliff's tips he gives to avoid being sued. Now, the first thing to keep in mind is there's no 100% way to avoid being sued. If someone has the time and money, it's going to happen and there's nothing you can do about it. But these 5 tips can make you a very unattractive target. First, form a corporation or an LLC. This will greatly help you to become an unattractive target, and people will look elsewhere if they want to sue. Next, insurance. This will cover you from all the unexpected things that could happen and more, including a possible fire in one of your offices. Also, disclaimer language. You're a consulting firm, so if you say things like, I guarantee this will happen to a client, they can hold you accountable if it doesn't happen, and that could be a problem and you could be sued. Make sure you use disclaimer language in all your contracts, and be careful with what you say in verbal conversations with clients. Next, transferring assets. Sometimes people choose to put their house and stuff like that into the name of their spouse or significant other. You can do this, but be careful your spouse and significant other, you're on good terms. If you get divorced or separate, then you could be homeless because the house is in your spouse's name, and that would be very bad. Finally, don't do business with crazy people. Trust your gut. If someone comes through and talks to you and says, I've been to multiple consulting firms, they're all terrible, that should set off alarm bells in your head that maybe these people are crazy and you shouldn't do business with them. Doing business with crazy people leads to crazy things, and then they can possibly sue you. So avoid that altogether and trust your gut, and send those crazy people to your competitors.